Well, just 6 runs of the last over, just 21 of the last 3. Let's see the Rajasthan Royals end their innings at 160 after Delhi Capitals won the toss in an important game for Rishabh Pant's side and put them in. Again, the Royals surprised us. They sent R. Ashwin back at 3. He registered a half century. But would they be happy with that sort of score? We'll find out from what Sanjay Manjrekar and Piyush Chawla made of the first innings here on Maruti Suzuki Presents ESPN Cricket Info T20 Timeout, powered by IQ 95G. 160, as you called it. Now, is 160 the kind of score that you're willing to make a judgment on as to who the happier team at halftime would be?
I'm sure Delhi would fancy the chances, especially because we are not in Pune and there's likelihood of the pitch easing up in the second half, because in Pune you don't quite get the dew coming in and making your life a little easier. So 160, I think Delhi will fancy their chances, and we just got an idea as to what can happen to Rajasthan Royals if Butler fails and there's no Hetmeyer effect or contribution. Then this is how the innings sort of goes on.
Yeah, we have to go deeper into that in a moment, but let me just get to the hot topic straight away. Ashwin at 3. Do you believe A, the move was right, and B, are you going to base that on the result, or do you believe that now that the result is good, the move is already right? Yeah.
See, in the past when we came out the first time, I mean, Sanju Samson had made the sacrifice of batting down the order at number 3. And then the first game when we saw him at number 3, my logic was telling me, if Samson as it is batting at number 3, and then you pushed him to number 4, then you're sort of lessening the possible impact that Samson can make, and which he has the ability of. But today's innings with Hetmeyer not there, maybe they just wanted to at least have an illusory kind of depth to their batting. But one has to think, if those many balls were consumed by somebody like a Sanju Samson, would he have made more of that? We saw Padikkal as well batting alongside Ashwin, and you could see what a proper batter when said, what kind of an impact he made. Ashwin, within his abilities, did tremendously well. But I guess today that move was slightly justified because they were missing Hetmeyer, and I don't think they have too much trust in somebody like Rassi van der Dussen yet.
Now, is that something that is alarming in itself, that you have played a batter, an overseas established batter, albeit one who's not got runs or opportunities in this IPL, but you aren't having the confidence in him to bat at 4? You're not even having the confidence in him to bat any more balls than Riyan Parag.
And, I've been very open about my feelings about tactics of Rajasthan Royals. They've been frustrating over the years. And here's Rassi van der Dussen, came in as a pure batter, replacement for Shimron Hetmeyer. This is a guy who averages 38 in T20 internationals, strike rate of 130. So, you've got to back these kind of players. And I sort of preempted that. At that stage, I knew that if a wicket fell, they would send somebody like a Parag in, who they have a lot of expectations, or they back him a lot. And Rassi was left to pick up the bits. And you can clearly see that Rassi is still not in this relaxed phase where he's got accustomed to the IPL pressures, but he's more than what you saw there. But again, tactics with Rajasthan Royals have always been a little eyebrow raising.
Yeah, sure, certainly. It's perhaps worth revisiting at the end of the game. We did make our judgments, and fairly so, on Shubman Gill's innings at half-time yesterday, but many times teams tend to associate the right and wrong of a decision depending on what side of the result they end up on. So we'll revisit that, but let's give credit to the Delhi Capitals bowling. Let's start with the former Royal in Chetan Sakaria. Back into this team at the expense of Khalil Ahmed, who's injured. But you're very impressed by what you saw of Sakaria.
See, I've generally been impressed every time I've seen him bowl. It's only when he played for India, he didn't quite make the same kind of impression. But this is a guy who knows the stuff. And the first time we all saw him in a full season, he was a revelation. And today as well, there was a ball that he bowled in the slot to get a dangerous bat to Raunak. That is where Sakaria is dangerous. He's a bit like, what Arshdeep Singh does, or, Harshal Patel does. He takes the pace off and makes life difficult. And because the pitches are now getting a little tired and slow, people like Sakaria and Mustafizur Rahman might have a little more to offer than they had in the first half of the IPL.
Take me through that Butler wicket, though, because we saw Sakaria, we think his stock ball or his dangerous ball is the variation, or when the pitch is gripping a little. He got Butler playing balls that were somewhere over here. He set him up with some length balls. And what's happened at that wicket ball, which looks like the kind of ball that Butler may well hit for 6 on a good day.
And he tried. If you watch the ball very closely, there's a late swing. And that actually caused that little miss hit where he was trying to hit straight and the ball went to mid-on. But if you look at Butler's dismissals, right through this IPL and in T20 cricket, balls that are full and in the stumps somehow tend to get the better of Butler. A lot of them disappear as well for fours and sixes. But this is why, Delhi Capitals is still one of the teams that I fancy going through to the final rounds. I know they've got some batting issues. But look at the people that they have left out. I think it's one of the most rich reserve team in this IPL. Mustafizur Rahman is not playing. Sakaria hadn't played until now. But when they turn up to play, I mean, Nokia was in the reserve. So their bench is high quality bench.
All right. I think Piyush has just joined us as well. Piyush, let me get your views on this score of 160 first. Would you say Delhi are the happier team at halftime?
Well, looking at the wicket, I'm sure they must be happy because the fast bowlers has done a brilliant job, and but still they have to bat really well because in last few games we have seen even 145, 150 has been enough. So they have to really well, they have to bat really well. But yeah, 160 still they'll take it any other day.
Okay, now many ways of getting to 160. Today Rajasthan decided they'll send Ashwin up top and not necessarily pinch hit, but have that anchor sort of innings of 50 of 38. Now, Sanjay stating that Ashwin played particularly well, but still questioning the move, whether they would have been better off sending Sanju Samson up the order or having Rassie van der Dussen play more balls. What did you make of the decision and of the innings?
Well, when he came into bat, he started off brilliantly in the power play, and after that he slowed down a bit. But I feel like he batted nicely. And when Sanju came into bat, there was enough balls left where he could have accelerated, but he started off, really early. There were more balls left than he would have thought, and I think because of that, they were like 10, 15 runs short, where I missed my prediction correctly, and Sanjay Bhai was spot on.
Yeah, one of those rare occasions. Last night I said Lucknow should stroll this target, and they were all out for what, 80?
Yeah, 80 all out.
80 all out, yeah.
That's
82,
okay.
yeah.
I keep saying that my guests are always solid and sound. The teams let them down with how they play, so don't worry. But
That's the
we
best way of saying it.
Yeah, has to be. Now Piyush is joining this side of the ship. The pundits and the studio experts, although there's still part of him, which is a large part of him, which is an active player.
Yeah, that will be for next year, though. Like Jofra Archer is going to turn up next year.
Okay, but I want to ask
I'm
Piyush.
still
Yes,
fit.
Piyush, please.
Yeah, Jofra is not fit for this season. You're fit for this season.
Who knows? Ravindra Jadeja has been ruled out, Piyush. We wonder if there is a call-up on the cards from some franchise or the other.
Well, I just heard that he's not fit for the remaining part of the tournament, and I think that's not a good sign for CSK because he's somebody has always been around, and those two crucial games which are left over. But well, you can't help it if you get injured.
Yeah,
Did that injury happen on the field sometime? Did we see that happen on the field?
I think there was a rib injury that came as a result of a pretty bad collision, a pretty bad fall on the field. And now they're saying that it's that sore rib which hasn't healed. He did play after that, though.
He did play.
He did play. So anyway, we'll know more when CSK or Ravindra Jadeja tell us more. But for the time being, we continue on this innings. Piyush, a couple of quick questions. It looked like a proper plan today that without Hetmeyer, Samson will just bat deep. And do you sense sometimes these decisions, it may look okay, but do players receive it just as well? You're telling Rassie van der Dussen you're playing as a batter, but in the event that, an early wicket falls, will send Ashwin, and you may then have to keep dropping down the order. Do you think sometimes players get confused with these sort of tactics?
Well, they do get confused, but I still feel like the kind of inning Ashwin play after power play, I feel he could have done the same thing, but he slowed down. But nevertheless, he got that important 50 runs, and the wicket looked pretty good this time around. And Rassie would have come, but there was because they had Sanju, Riyan Parag was in good form, so you can't really say that they kept him too late. But still they have got 160 on the board.
Yeah, they've still got something.
Yeah, in today's game, and because Hetmeyer wasn't there, And he played in two patches, isn't it? The first 20 came very quickly, and then there was a little bit of slowing down. But he managed to hit the big shots at the right time. So when
Sure.
you eventually look at the innings and look at, and I think Piyush makes an excellent point about Sanju Samson wasn't kept on the bench for too long. When he came in, there were enough overs. But I personally would always push my pure batters with pedigree up there. So today, he got some runs, and they have tried that twice before. But I guess it's only to ensure that there's a little bit of depth, just like
Sure.
KKR used to do with Sunil Narayan, to get that little depth in their batting.
Okay, let's get a quick word from Piyush on the Delhi bowling. Sanjay, all praise for Chetan Sakaria, Piyush, but 5 overs of 45 between, or rather 5 overs of, 45 and no wickets between Akshar and Kuldeep. Now, what does that tell us of the first innings? Did the spinners bowled poorly? What is the reason for Sakaria's success? What did you make of it?
Well, Seamus bowled really well, and if you talk about not just Sagaria, although Shardul didn't get wicket this time, but I think he bowled the best in the tournament so far today because he didn't go for too many runs. And if you talk about the spinners, I feel Kuldeep still bowled well. They just took his couple of good shots, and I think Akshay was not up to the mark today. He gave a couple of boundary balls which turned into a big shots, and that really didn't help the cause of the team.
Spot on. I think his assessment of every bowler, especially Shardul Thakur, is spot on. He had one of his better spells this IPL. Kuldeep Yadav, that 1-6 that was hit straight, I think by Ashwin it was. That spoiled his figures a little bit. Akshar Patel was the one who was truly off colour today. I haven't seen him bowl like that in a while.
Okay, as it turns out, would those be the extra runs that come to bite the Delhi Capitals, because they've lost a wicket of their first ball in the chase, or rather the second ball of their chase? KS Bharat has been dismissed. Now, prediction time. Rajasthan would have their tails up after an early wicket. They've got 160 on the board. Delhi under pressure. What do you think will happen?
I'm still going to go with my, the logic that I have with the kind of quality there is in the Delhi team, David Warner and stuff. Not a big score. Chahal, Ashwin, big force to contend with. I'll go with Delhi chasing this down.
Piyush, quick prediction. Are we going to see Delhi get the job done
Mm.
finally?
Now Sanjay Bhai predicted Delhi, so I'll go with Rajasthan.
Okay, well done. So one of you will be right. Let's find out who that is at the end of the game.
Yes.
Thank you to Piyush Chawla and Sanjay Manjrekar. Pick up their thoughts at the end of what is perhaps the most important 20 overs of the Delhi Capitals in this IPL if they are to stay alive for the playoffs. This is Maruti Suzuki presents ESPN Cricket Info T20 Timeout powered by IQ 95G. Join us at the end of the game.